After watching the Fairly OddParents for 16 years, you'd think somebody would finally get Timmy Turner. But alas, it's 2017, and he's still an average kid that no one understands. We even put together 107 facts about Fairly OddParents, and that still didn't help. Clearly, it's time for 107 more. Hey guys, I'm Joe with channel Frederator, and since your wish is our command, we are back with a brand new list of fairly odd facts about Nickelodeon's hit show. We've got the behind-the-scenes scoop on character inspirations, celebrity cameos, and Timmy Turner's rap debut? Yeah, so get ready to flip your lid, because this is 107 more facts about the Fairly OddParents. Let's do it. Let's kick off with some facts about the OG magical power trio themselves, Timmy, Cosmo, and Wanda. For example, you might already know that Timmy was named after Butch Hartman's brother, Tim, but what you may not know is that he was almost named Mike, after Butch Hartman's other brother. If Butch and Mike hadn't gotten into a family spat during the show's conception, we all may be talking about Mikey Turner. But wait, there's more. After Butch decided on the name Timmy, he had to come up with a last name, and he chose Taylor. He soon discovered, however, that Tim Taylor was already the name of the guy from Home Improvement. So he switched it to Turner. Timmy Taylor, Timmy Turner, close enough. Remember the classic Fairly Odd fact about how Timmy was supposed to have a blue hat? Well, he wasn't the only one. Wanda was also supposed to have blue hair. Her color change wasn't because Butch Hartman ran out of ink though. It was because Timmy's room was already blue, and they wanted her hair to stand out against it. Yeah, I'd say the hot pink is pretty hard to miss. Cosmo and Venus? Yes, Wanda's name was almost Venus, thanks to an early conceived running gag about fairies having space-themed names. However, the pun game with Wanda was way too strong to resist, and Butch Hartman ended up changing it. They didn't let the name Venus go to waste, however. In fact, it's actually Wanda's middle name now. Wanda Venus Fairywinkle. That's about as fantastical as it gets. There's a reason that Wanda calls Timmy Sport all the time, and it's not just because it's a sign of endearment. Turns out, Wanda actually has a terrible memory and forgets Timmy's name most of the time, and here we are giving Cosmo a hard time. Speaking of which, it's no secret that Cosmo isn't exactly the brightest wand in the shop, but there's a good reason for it. Apparently, he's a Spellementary school dropout, as in the school where fairies learn to control their magic. Explains a lot, don't it? Cosmo was named after Hanna-Barbera animator Cosmo Anzalotti, a former co-worker of Butch Hartman's. See, if you get into animation, then maybe one day you'll have an iconic cartoon character named after you too. If you have a cool name like Cosmo, that is. Before Cosmo and Wanda had the colorful bite-sized designs that we know and love today, they looked very different. Cosmo was a Homer Simpson-like couch potato, and Wanda had a frumpier, more human look. Some ideas are much better left on the drawing board. A lot of work goes on behind the scenes of a TV show, especially an animated series. These things don't get wished up overnight. Here are some BTS facts about FOP. The show had a few working names before it landed on its Fairly Odd title. For instance, it was once called simply The Fairy Godparents. Then it took a more punderful route with the title Oh My Godparents. That one wasn't a winner, but it was just a hop, skip, and a wish away from the Fairly OddParents. It took a year for the Fairly Odd train to roll out of the station. Nickelodeon originally ordered just 6 episodes of the show, and stuck to those same 6 for about a year, playing them on repeat and slowly accumulating the ratings boost. Then they realized that the show was magic and got cranking on the other 9 seasons. Better late than never, FOP movie Channel Chasers actually had a full-blown musical number called If I Lived in TV that got cut from the final release. It parodies even more old TV shows like Friends, SNL, and American Idol. You know, all those classics from 20 years ago. Man, I feel old. Flappy Bob is a phony? Yes. According to a scrapped song from School's Out the Musical, Flappy Bob wasn't originally going to be the big bad. It was none other than Imaginary Gary, not to be confused with Peppy Happy Gary. Ever notice that Timmy's bedroom is always changing size, shape, and design? Aside from having a bad case of the blues, that's because, unlike the Fairy Council, Timmy's bedroom doesn't have a rulebook. The artists are free to draw it with whatever layout they need. No floor plans required. In the original script for Wishology: The Final Ending, there was no memory wipe written in at the end of the script. This means that going forward, everyone would have either known about Timmy's fairies, or maybe that there was no going forward, and Wishology was really going to be the final ending. Either way, the change was made, so all we can do now is speculate. Are the live-action Fairly OddParents movies considered canon to the TV series? The word from on high, aka the production team, is that it's up for interpretation. Personally, we say the more Fairly OddParents, the merrier. Fairly OddParents was saved from the brink of death, or the brink of cancellation. It was originally slated to end back in 2006, hand in hand with Jimmy Neutron during the 3rd Jimmy Timmy Power Hour. However, Nickelodeon must have heard its fans' wishes and granted granted them over 10 more years of episodes. Who says magic isn't real? There was almost a Fairly OddParents movie. No, not a TV special, a real movie. Butch Hartman and Steve Marmol had already written the script and were ready to get production rolling when a power shift at Paramount stopped it dead in its tracks. Maybe one day, somehow, we'll see a release of the film, but just know that the script is out there, even now, waiting. Beginning in season 10, Fairly OddParents switched from traditional animation to Adobe Flash animation. It's the same program used to make shows like The Mighty Magiswords and Butch Hartman's other show, Bunsen is a Beast. Okay, enough production talk. Fairly OddParents is all about characters, and whether they've been in 10 episodes or 100, they've all got quirks. Take Timmy's parents for instance. They were never meant to have faces. When Butch Hartman realized how much this limited potential plot lines, the production team held a contest to design them, or at least design their upper torsos. We may not know Mrs. Turner's first name, but we do know her maiden name. It's Vladislavov. Her side of the family is Ustinkistanian. On the Turner side of the family, Timmy's heritage can be traced back to colonial times. His ancestor, Ebenezer Turner, was one of the founders of Dimsdale and the town crier. Just one dumb man in a long line of dumb men. Timmy gets his signature buck teeth from his pappy. No, it's not because of genetics. Pappy let Timmy suck on his pacifier for too long as a baby, leaving Tiny Tim with 2 titanic teeth. Mr. Turner's shifty-eyed grumbles of Dinkelberg were only meant to be a one-and-done gag. However, the writers thought it was so funny that it appeared again and again and again. The Dinkelberg grumble has even been immortalized as a meme, as I'm sure you've all seen. Well, turns out Butch Hartman has seen it too, and he loves it. That's the ultimate stamp of approval. Butch Hartman has said that Poof was the hardest character on the show to design. Poof may look like just a glittering bowling ball with eyes, but sometimes it's the simplest designs that are the most deceiving. Poof's name wasn't always going to be Poof. At one point, his name was actually going to be Dusty, because then he'd be fairy dust. Get it? Yeah, Poof's a better name. Of all the characters she's voiced, which include Jessica on Rick and Morty, Chandra Jimenez on Gravity Falls, and Anka on Archer, voice actress Carrie Walgreen said that she relates most with Chloe Carmichael. Apparently, she had a lot in common with Chloe at that age, which hopefully refers to the altruism and not the baby smelling. Chloe's full name is Chloe Mother Teresa Neil Armstrong Carmichael. Wow, even her middle names are sickeningly inspiring, and Timmy's is named after a TV show character. The Crimson Chin's name doesn't perfectly translate to other languages, but they certainly do try. In Sweden, he's called Rodhaken, which means the red chin, and in Denmark, it's Hagamanden, meaning the chin man. It just doesn't have the same ring to it. We all know Vicki is cold-hearted, but the actual state of her heart changes from episode to episode. In Frenemy Mine, her heart is 3 sizes too small. In Timmy's X-ray vision, her heart is made of stone. In Tiny Timmy, it's literally a black hole. No matter what though, it's not a place you want to be. Mark Chang was originally supposed to have an evil alien voice. However, Rob Paulson came in and did a radical surfer dude voice, and it was so wrong for the role that they had to go with it. Most excellent. Mr. Crocker wasn't made for Fairly OddParents. Butch Hartman designed him for a different show that he was pitching at the same time, and when FOP got picked up first, he juggled the crackpot over into this one. Tootie is named after Butch Hartman's daughter. Okay, so his daughter's name isn't Tootie. It's a nickname she had when she was little, but Butch liked it and immortalized it in an awkward animated form. In the German version of the show, Jorgen von Strangle's name is Jean-Claude Van Ram. This is a reference to popular Belgian martial artist Jean-Claude Van Damme. Does this guy really look like a Jean-Claude to you? In their first appearances, Mr. and Mrs. Bucksaplenty were all leg. As was the case with Timmy's parents early on, we never actually saw their faces. That is until Country Clubbed, when they were given a bit of redesign and, well, faces to match. So how did the Bucksaplenties accumulate their mass fortune anyway? 2 words: railroad industry. It was just the ticket. That really set them on the right track. In Boys in the Band, Chip Skylark, who is of course played by NSYNC's own Chris Kirkpatrick, randomly blurts out, "The album comes out July 24th! NSYNC actually did have an album come out on July 24th of that same year, just a month before this episode aired. Talk about cross-promotion. Anyone remember Jeff the Elf? Timmy's temporary fairy from way back in the Oh Yeah cartoon days? Well, he seemed to poof after that episode, but can be spotted at Timmy's Fairyversary party in Abracatastrophe. Aw, he remembered. There are so many episodes of Fairly OddParents at this point, we'll do the math on that later this video, that there are a lot of little references or changes that can slip right by you in a single moment. Recently, season 10 episode Certifiable Super Sitter brought some big changes to the show. It was the first episode to air on Nicktoons instead of Nickelodeon, and was the first episode to air that was made with Adobe Flash rather than traditional animation. In that same episode, Poof does impersonations of Scarface, Elvis Presley, and Donald Trump, and it's not the only time that the show has poked fun at our president. In the 2015 episode, The Very Beginning, Timmy gets a Trump-like hairdo that he shoots down for being too Trump. In season 4 episode Shelf Life, Timmy cuts off Wanda before she can say the word Mouseketeer. Why? As you may know, Mouseketeer writers were members of the Mickey Mouse Club, and thanks to Disney, it's a copyrighted term, so they couldn't keep it in the script. Wait, can we say that? Moving on. Cosmo's old high school bully, Luthor Lex, is a reference to Superman villain Lex Luthor, only, you know, with the name flipped. Does that make Cosmo Superman? He can fly. The Simpsons-like music from Channel Chasers was written by show composer Guy Moon, but not for Fairly OddParents. It's actually a stock track called Bartmania, and also has been used in SpongeBob SquarePants during Help Wanted. So if you thought it sounded a bit familiar, you didn't know the half of it. March is a big month in the FOP world. It includes March 15th, the worst day of Mr. Crocker's life, March 21st, Timmy's birthday, March 22nd, the day Cosmo had an idea, and of course, March 30th, the anniversary of the show. This year, it turned 16. Season 3 episode, The Big Scoop, is about Chester and AJ growing suspicious of Timmy's newfound popularity. It's actually the flip side of the episode A Wish Too Far from Season 1. Abracatraz, the fairy prison from Wishology, is a play on the real-world prison island Alcatraz. The sign at the gate, Abandon all hope, ye who here enter, is a reference to the words at the gateway to hell in Dante's Inferno. Basically, it's not a fun place if you're not catching the drift. Jorgen von Strangle's song from School's Out the Musical is called Pull Back the Fairies. In the writing process, however, it was simply known as the Jorgen von Strangle polka, which just proves how important it was that we see Jorgen sing some polka. The episode Snowbound was actually conceived by Butch Hartman's daughter, Sophia. She wanted him to make an episode involving Vicki, Timmy, and Snow, and that episode was the result. What a great dad. You can't talk about Fairly OddParents without talking about the head cheese behind it all, Butch Hartman. Hartman has created a handful of shows, but he says that Fairly OddParents is special because of its heart. The Timmy, Wanda, Cosmo family dynamic at the center of the show helps ground all the craziness and keeps the show relatable. Timmy Turner almost joined the ranks of Jimmy Neutron and Dexter as a boy genius. Butch Hartman's original plan for the show was for Timmy to solve all his problems with science. However, Dexter was too successful at that time, so he switched it from science to magic. When Butch Hartman was first able to call the shots on his own shows, he had to make a choice to focus on animation or focus on writing. Hartman decided to put the writing first, following the way of The Simpsons. His decision paid off because the popularity of the Fairly OddParents later gave way to great animation anyway. Butch Hartman designed the show to feel like a cartoon from the 1950s. It's one of the reasons that Cosmo and Timmy's dads are always wearing ties. No wonder it was an instant classic. If Butch Hartman could go back and do it all over again, he'd change how Timmy got his godparents. Instead of them coming from a Magic 9 ball, Timmy would have bought them at a pet store. You know, where most fish come from. Butch Hartman once described Timmy as a sarcastic hardhead, but recently that's changed. Timmy's time with Cosmo and Wanda, he says, has not only made him a smarter character, but it's allowed the writers to craft more complicated plot lines for him without needing to introduce a ton of side characters to fill space. Butch Hartman loves sneaking parts of his childhood into the show. One you may have missed, his hometown, New Baltimore, Michigan. Mr. Crocker went to college at Baltimore University, and Jorgen once says, by the power vested in me and by all of Fairy World and the city of New Baltimore, Michigan. Sly Butch, very sly. If you haven't already, check out Butch Hartman's YouTube page. It's a must watch. He makes videos recreating video game characters, YouTubers, and other Nickelodeon stars using the Fairly OddParents style. It's like every weird internet fanfic come to life, like in a video about knockoff Danny Phantom characters with Nathan and Cladwell of the Draw Free channel, and then Hartman also did a video on the Draw Free channel about knockoff the Fairly OddParents. Check it out. Our very own Fred Seibert, hey Fred, has praised Butch Hartman's success and called it unparalleled in the animation industry. He's had 3 very successful and very good television shows on the air. If Hartman had his way, he'd have 25 shows on the air, but 3 is still good for now. What's the secret to having a TV show on the air for 10 seasons? According to Butch Hartman, never get lazy. He says that good storytelling and fresh ideas are the key to keeping the lights on. Over time, Fairly OddParents has accumulated an impressive lineup of celebrity guest stars. Everyone knows about Jay Leno, Norm Macdonald, and Adam West, but did you know that Timmy's cool older brother, Tommy Turner, was voiced by Jason Bateman? This was back in 2005 too, so those were his peak Arrested Development days. Another often overlooked celeb cameo, Alec Baldwin. He played future Timmy from Channel Chasers. Voice acting is one thing. Singing is a different beast entirely. That's why Redman and Method Man provide the rapping vocals for the Pixies. There are just some things that Ben Stein can't do. Turbo Thunder is voiced by Brendan Fraser, plucky adventure frontman of the late 90s. Turbo Thunder's role as a chosen one who sleeps through his chosen task is just aggressively Brendan Fraser-like. Poof's first words in A Fairly Odd Movie come from none other than former American Idol judge Randy Jackson. Bet you didn't see that one coming, dog. As mentioned in our our last 107, Gene Simmons and Paul Stanley of the band Kiss are featured in the episode Wishology. What's their role in the story? Well, they're ancient fairy warriors who are protecting the fire wand, of course. I mean, what else would they be doing? The idea for the Kiss appearance came about when one of the writers recommended that the mythical item that Timmy needs to save the world should be hidden inside a guitar, and who might have that guitar, they wondered. Now it's all coming together. According to Susan Blakesley, one of the most talented voice actors on the show is Butch Hartman himself. Apparently he can do the voices of every single character on the show, probably because he hears them all in his head. The celebrity guests almost never record their dialogue at the same time as the rest of the voice actors. Tara Strong, the voice of Timmy, theorizes it's because they'd be too intimidated surrounded by so many pros. Not every guest star stuck around though. Norm Macdonald, Gilbert Gottfried, Frankie Muniz, Adam West, and Julia Louis-Dreyfus all voiced characters and later passed that baton over to someone else in subsequent roles. We know that Butch Hartman is a huge pop culture fan, so every now and then he brings in some iconic characters to make cameos in Fairly OddParents. Here's Fred Flintstone, Yabba Dabba doing it up in Land Before Timmy. Disney's Wreck-It Ralph was full of video game cameos, but Ralph and Vanellope may have made some cameos themselves. Check out this crowd shot from Dumbbell Curve. Coincidence? Methinks not. Sometimes Butch Hartman's own characters make cameos in Fairly OddParents as well. Notice any familiar faces in this scene from Man's Worst Friend? Maybe one Keswick. Tough Puppy returned the hospitality by cameoing Fairly OddParents on the TV in Tough Breakup. Or, for all the Danny Phantom fans out there, how about in Flyboy, which pretty much literally features Dash Baxter as the teenager in I Was a Teenage Blowfly. Maybe Dash took up acting. Timmy has also cameoed in the background of a much earlier Butch Hartman cartoon, Terry and Chris, an Oh Yeah cartoon segment. See, there he is in the background. What an average kid. Years before the Jimmy Timmy Power Hour, Cosmo was already referencing that bulgy fellow Nicktoon. In Sleep Over and Over, Cosmo finds an ant, bee, and cat and names them Carl, Cindy, and Jimmy respectively. All these characters are from Jimmy Neutron. In our last 107 video, we mentioned SpongeBob's human cameo on the show, but that wasn't the only time FOP threw a little love his way. In Something's Fishy, the King of Atlantis mentions that its denizens eat crab, starfish, and the occasional underwater squirrel. These are clearly references to Mr. Krabs, Patrick, and Sandy. Maybe love was the wrong word. Let's talk full-on crossovers though. Core cast members of the show have poofed up in everything from MTV's TRL to Big Time Rush to Ned's Declassified School Survival Guide. These fairies really get around. Just this year, Fairly OddParents had its first major crossover since the Jimmy Timmy Power Hour in Beast of Friends. The episode saw Timmy, Wanda, and Cosmo teaming up with Mikey and Bunsen from Bunsen is a Beast. Apparently, Cosmo and Bunsen are old friends, which is oddly unsurprising. Fairly OddParents, Danny Phantom, and Tough Puppy had a crossover. Okay, so it was like 3 minutes and was mainly just to welcome Bunsen is a Beast into the Hartman cartoon family, but still, we take a victory where we can get it. When you have a show as long-running as Fairly OddParents, you're bound to lose track of some of the continuity, and sometimes the creators do too. Here are some of the Easter eggs for the eagle-eyed observer. Like, remember when Timmy wished for heat vision and melted his dad's prized marathon trophy? Well, it turns out that Timmy has just low-key had heat vision since that episode, as he whipped it out again in Escape from Unwish Island. What other wishes has he made that haven't gone away? In the episode Double O Schnosmo, we learn that Cosmo actually has a big-nosed older brother named Schnosmo. However, in the grand plan, Cosmo had to turn to Anti-Cosmo for a replacement for Giggly Gland, since he was an only child. Oh well, Schnosmo probably wouldn't have helped anyway. In the show's pilot episode, Vicki mentions having a little brother, who she blackmails with adult magazines when he doesn't listen to her. However, we've never seen or heard about her brother since then. Instead, Vicki now has a little sister, Tootie, who I guess she still could be blackmailing. It's not just the people on FOP who don't age. The technology doesn't either. As of season 10, the show still uses old-fashioned sound effects and depicts early 2000s era technology like boxy computers and cathode ray TVs. They even did an emo episode in 2014. What, did Timmy wish for it to be 2002 forever? In the very first episode, The Big Problem, it looks like Timmy has a pet parrot who molts all his feathers after hearing Vicki say her name, and then never appears again. In That's Life, Timmy mentions having a pet parrot who ran away while he was at summer camp. Guess we all know where it went. Owning a fairy godparent is all about balance. If a fairy can't grant wishes for their kid, then they get magical buildup, but if the kid wishes for too many things, the kid gets sent away to the wishing well. You've got to make just the right amount. See also Goldilocks and the Three Fairies. Poof may not be long for this world. It sounds dark, but hear me out. In Timmy's secret wish, Poof is sent away to Hocus Pocus after all of Timmy's wishes got unwished, because Timmy wished for him. In Channel Chasers, we're shown that Timmy will keep his fairies until he turns 18, at which point all traces of his fairy godparents will disappear, including his wishes. So won't Poof vanish then too? Good thing no one ever ages on this show. Crocker's fantasies become a reality in abracatastrophe. Literally, back in Transparents, Crocker imagines himself as supreme ruler of the world, with crazy decked out armor, turning his colleagues to ash. That's exactly what happens in the movie, except he messes up and turns the students into ice instead of ash. Details, details. Hocus Pocus is filled with callbacks to earlier episodes. You may recognize the likes of Superbike, Hank the Rhino, and the magic TV remote from Channel Chasers. Now that's what I call fan service. Ever wonder if Cosmo and Wanda magically coming into Timmy's life was too good to be true? Well, some fans have theorized that the fairies are just perceived manifestations of the antidepressants taken by Timmy. What's that? Those fans were us at Channel Frederator? Oh yeah! Fairly OddParents has grown even bigger than the show itself. Those big-eyed, spiky-hair rascals made their way all over pop culture. For starters, hip-hop artist-designer named a single after Timmy Turner. Yeah, don't play it for your kids though. It's definitely not Kids Bop. The Fairly OddParents has had 4 video games based on it: Enter the Clef, Break Into Rules, Shadow Showdown, and Clash with the Anti-World. The last one came out in 2006, and to put that in perspective for you, it was for the Game Boy Advance. My, how we've advanced. Timmy has also teamed up with his fellow Nicktoons for 4 Nicktoon titles, including Freeze Frame Frenzy, Nicktoons Unite, Battle for Volcano Island, and Attack on the Toybots. Don't mind me, I'm just sitting here waiting for a 4th Nicktoons Unite game. Carry on. In 2004, a Fairly Odd coaster opened up at the Nicktoon Universe amusement park inside the Mall of America in Bloomington, Minnesota. Step aside, Escalator Land. Or I guess don't step, because it's automated. From 2002 to 2009, Fairly OddParents comics were published in Nickelodeon magazine. There was even a couple Jimmy Timmy crossover comics in there, including one with a bunch of other Nicktoons in it. Man, I miss the good old print magazine days. The show was parodied in an episode of Mad, with a segment called Fairly Odd Parental Controls. In the segment, Cosmo and Wanda appear to help kids bypass a parental block using a magic remote that disguises what they're watching. Last time they whipped up a magical remote, things did not turn out so hot. Oh, and in that Mad parody, Wanda is voiced by none other than Tara Strong, who voiced Timmy on the actual Fairly OddParents show, so she's had a lot of time to practice. Mad also parodied Fairly OddParents in Mad Magazine, in which they pointed out why hasn't Timmy used his fairies to wish away his buck teeth. That observation aside, the parody has also been seen by Butch Hartman, who said that being made fun of by Mad Magazine is how you know your show has really made it. Fairly OddParents and Chalk Zone not only share an origin from Oh Yeah cartoons and a composer in Guy Moon, but also some songs. The Get Ready for This knockoff heard in Fairly OddParents episode Totally Spaced Out was used in a Chalk Zone episode Lost in Chalk Zone, and a musical cue from the original Fairly OddParents episode later popped up in Chalk Zone's Future Zone. The show has been nominated for 48 awards and received 16 wins, including an Emmy for Outstanding Individual Achievement in Animation and Annies for Music in a TV Production, Best Character Design, and Outstanding Storyboarding. Now, just make sure that Timmy doesn't melt any of them. Get ready, because now it's time to serve up some cold, hard numbers. Dimsdale was founded in 1744 and has a population of 625,348, which would make it the 28th most populated city in America, just before Las Vegas. Fairy World, on the other hand, is home to about 81,004 fairies. While that may sound like a whole lot, the population of kids on the planet is somewhere around the 2 billion range. No wonder there's a fairy shortage. There are about 57 known rules in the rulebook, and certainly more to come, if Timmy keeps making crazy movie-worthy wishes. The Fairly OddParents is now tied with SpongeBob SquarePants for most seasons of a Nicktoon, each with a whopping 10 seasons, although there are 215 episodes of SpongeBob and only 161 episodes of the Fairly OddParents, so the Sponge is still on top for now. Cosmo and Wanda have been married for 9,895 years. Considering that 41% of marriages end after just 8 years, it looks like Cosmo and Wanda are in it for the long haul. Aww. According to Timmy's permanent record, he actually has 50% less brain matter than your typical student. So really, Timmy is a below average kid that no one understands. Cosmo has said that Timmy weighs 50 pounds without his buck teeth, and Timmy's normal weight is 60 pounds. That means he's got 10 pounds of sheer tooth in his head. No wonder he's miserable all the time. Cosmo and Wanda's address is 123 Fishbowl Lane. Timmy's room, USA. I'm not just being cute. That's really it. Please forward all fan mail to that address. Once again, I'm Joe, and thanks for watching 107 more facts about Fairly OddParents. Did we miss anything? What's your favorite episode? Comment below and let us know. We have new videos dropping every week, so let us know which animated film or TV show you want us to cover next. Make sure to subscribe to Channel Frederator for future videos and click the bell icon to become part of the notification squad. And remember, Frederator loves you.